Hello everyone. Oh, wait. I don't see you in the.
Just go back to the starting soon. Go back to the starting soon. Yeah.
Hello everyone, and
We're
welcome to this fifth week of the CEA Chess Championship. I'm being joined by Lisa Orlova. Tell us a little bit about the today's match, please.
Hello everyone. So today is going to be the match between Microsoft A versus Amazon Aardvarks, and today is going to be a pretty interesting match because we have some quite a strong team of players from both sides. Um, by the way, to those of you who do not know the format of this tournament, basically there are other corporate organization matches actually running at the same time, but we cover one every single week, only one match. So good luck to both teams for today, and I apologize for us being just a few minutes late.
Yeah.
So
By the way, just wanna let everyone know if they could give us any feedback about the production. That would be really nice if everyone could hear us properly. And yeah, then I guess we could actually have a look on the games, right? Which game
correct.
should we pick for start?
That's M. Hassan. I guess that's the one that I was looking at first.
All right. We have this. How did it start? It started as a Queen's Gambit declined. Actually, it's a Rogozin defense. So at first this is a Queen's Gambit decline, but this Bishop B4 move is what makes it a Rogozin, and this is a very solid setup for Black. And usually, it's worth mentioning that Queen A4, it's quite a common tactic that wins the Bishop. But here Black will have the move Knight to C6 to defend it, and that's actually
Exactly.
one of the theoretical lines that White can go for. But it's a completely different thing than what happens in the game. So yeah, we have this line where yeah, to me it looks a little bit like White Black has overextended with his pawns
Yeah.
on the
Is
queen's
it
line.
is it normal for like pawn c4 to be played?
Yeah, sometimes they do it in like the Tarash style, just getting c4, stopping White from playing the bishop to d3. But I'm trying to guess if there was maybe a chance to play cd4 and knight c6, trying to go for more of a concrete approach. Maybe it would have been a better option. But since it's so early on in the opening, they might still be prepared for it. So. Yeah, I think we can just stick with the game. And since they just stop in this moment, maybe we can have a look on
Yep.
the other games as well. And I'm jumping on this guy that has an impossible name to read. That's playing Sasha CFC, and yeah, it
Yeah.
looks.
Ooh, look at these knights in the center.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like I rarely see this kind of pawn structure, to be honest, and I'm guessing this was a Nimzo by the bishop on b7
Hmm.
and the way the queen landed on g6. So we have a
Correct.
classical queen c2 Nimzo, where black is giving up the bishop pair in exchange for controlling the e4 square, and uh,
Correct.
and we can see that white is trying to go for this kind of slow play with the bishops, but on the other hand, looks like black might be getting some initiative on the king side. So watch out for a potential checkmate
Yeah. This
on g2 in this kind of
I
line.
like. I like this knight g5 move because it's also exploiting knight takes h3. It's exploiting the queen and the rook on the same line with maybe bishop e4 in the future.
Yeah,
Um,
it's offering a poison pawn now. Actually, if you take on d6, then you're gonna get actually mated on g2 at the end of the line. But I'm
yeah.
guessing white is not really gonna allow it. But on the other hand, knight g5 was a very nice move, as you pointed out. Knight takes h3 now is a huge threat in the position. Plus also knight f3, because that's not defended. But knight h3 also
Mhm.
in the
Bishop
air. And
e4. Am I missing bishop e4 as well as a
bishop, no,
possibility?
no. I mean, there are just like so many threats that black has in this position, and I'm guessing it would be the best thing to do for white to just take it and then play f3, and suddenly
Hmm.
stop that bishop e4 idea, and we might actually get it on the board. Because there's literally no other thing to do to stop off the checkmate on g2, and
But one of
the
the
bishop
issues
coming.
with pawn f3 though could be is the weak holes in
No, definitely, yeah. I mean, but on the other hand, you're not losing material, so you've got to pick the lesser evil, right? So,
Mhm.
yeah. But I really like what White did. Now he's ready to bring this bishop into the game, and I really like how this is looking for White, because
I
even
wonder
if you
if
if you're
what if
trying to get knight h5, I think we you might even be running into some kind of f4 problems. Then get a bishop to f3, and then we might just end up shutting down that bishop from b7. But okay, I
but
think we can. Yeah.
instead of playing pawn to d5 though, wouldn't it have been maybe playing queen to g3 because queen g3 would have protected the pawn
Yeah. That could have
on
been.
d6 as well, and it can maybe put some pressure towards the dark squares. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm also not.
It's definitely something to consider. Probably why would I played queen d2, increasing the pressure, and then maybe even considering ideas of queen e1. So my game plan as white here would be to trade queens, and then just slowly put pressure on the d6 pawn, and suddenly at some point my bishop pair could start activating, and that's sort of one of the nice perks of playing this line. Suddenly the bishop pair just starts becoming good, and you have a good position, and you don't know why. And
Yeah.
I think we can look on the Mauricio Flores games. We have a grandmaster
Hmm.
that is playing, and he started with the Sicilian defense. By the way, did we got any feedback into the chat if they can hear us or not?
No, no.
Oh, nope. Okay.
I just no feedback.
Oh yeah. Hopefully they can. So we get this rook to d8, queen e2. Yeah, I really like what black did. I mean, on one hand, the way that white played it, it seemed pretty aggressively, like this whole
Yeah.
business with knight h4 f4. But yeah, black countered it really well with f5, stopping this kind of expansion that white was trying to do on the king side, and
Hmm.
and now after d6, is suddenly black that might start taking on the initiative. But he played this really precise moves. Queen b4, threatening to play bishop c4, picking up the
Hmm.
exchange, and the knight d5. Really nice trades. Like whenever you go for this kind of trades, It's gonna be helping black because now there will be no attack and he can just try to use the d file as he does. And wow, bishop takes on e5,
Hmm.
just a beautiful move. Simple tactic exploiting the fact that the knight on h4 remains undefended and
Exactly.
yeah. Well, bishop f6. What? Bishop f6. Wow, look at this move. I mean, after rook d3, his point is to go queen e4 and then pick up the
Yeah.
rook. So really nice tactic here at the end, and just looks like black has a winning endgame, being up a pawn. But yeah, let's.
I also forgot to mention in the beginning of the stream that how the pairings go is that there's 4 players. I mean, I'm sure there's more players. It's just that 4 players are chosen per round, and then everyone has to play against everyone else on the other team. So basically, in first round, it's the top player of one team ends up playing the lowest rated of the other team. So it's a tough round for Zhenya over here.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually invite you to have a look on the game of Sasha, because you remember that endgame that we've been looking at.
Yeah.
It actually just the game just ended, and I'm curious to see what
Ooh,
happened.
nice.
And after bishop f1, e5 suddenly looks like the bishop on d6 got trapped. After rook d5, bishop d5,
Yeah.
knight to
Mhm.
b6. For some reason, white decided to give up the second exchange. He could have probably played something like rook d2, but I'm guessing he simply forgot about the fact that he can retreat with the
bishop.
rook, yeah. Because now
Yeah.
after queen e6, it's a bit of an early resignation, to be honest, but still really tough to believe that he can come back being down
Yeah.
2 exchanges. We also
Yeah.
have a draw in Hassan. So that Ragozin ended up pretty quickly. But yeah, now they've been heading to the sun game where black gets the king to d6, pushes c5, and if white would be up a tempi, get the king to b4, maybe he can somehow hope for like maybe a small edge with potentially more active king. But once c5 comes in, even though black has this isolated pawn, there's simply no way to break through, and
Yeah.
they just repeated the position here, and Mauricio won, and that means I've gotta update the scoreboard.
Yeah. Yep. Let me let you know. Just 1 second. Yeah. So Microsoft has 1.5.
Wait, don't we upload all the scores?
So yeah, 1.5 to 2.5. So you would just next to the pairings, you just write 1.5 to 2.5.
Okay,
You don't have to write all of the individual pairings.
Okay, no, that's fine. I had it set it up so we can do that,
I know.
but that's fine. So
It's
so
my
one
fault.
and a
I wrote
half
to you in
for
Discord.
for Microsoft. Okay.
Yes, and 2.5 for Amazon. Okay. Okay, round 2 games. It seems like they haven't started, so that's good. Means we have some time.
1.5, 2.5. Amazon brings it home with Maurizio
Yeah.
being the star of this match. I would say he played a great game for the beginning. So yeah, we actually get the next round, and we set this game where D-True is playing and opens up with 1d4. So yeah, after going for was he the one? No, he played d4. He's playing white pieces again. I was wondering if he's the one that played the Ragozin, but no, I think he's the other guy. And wow, we have a King's Indian on the board. What do you think about that, Lisa?
I'm having actually trouble following D True, but the King's Indian. I mean, King's Indian is a pretty good opening for Black, but it is extremely theoretical. That's what I've heard about it.
Yeah, never mind. They transposed it to something even more theoretical, which is the Grunfeld now. So yeah, I was guessing it's gonna
Okay,
be King's Indian, but the pawn was
there you go. I'm watching now.
yeah, the pawn was not yet on d6. So I was mentioning this position. I was guessing black would do this, but now after the d5 we get the Grunfeld on the board, and this is a pretty solid setup. I played with it a bunch of times. And white sometimes decides to go for the symmetrical plan of taking and jumping on e5. But b3 is also one of the
Right.
ways to keep more pieces on the board. This is how Boris Giamfand used to play this quite a lot. And I'm not sure I like that rook e8 idea that much. Obviously preparing
Mhm.
e5 at some point, but whenever you're trying to do it, then
I'm not
white will
sure
go
if
95.
trading for white is the best. Like usually, but I'm also not a FIDE master, but generally I try to keep tension in the center
I
rather than
yeah, I mean I'm not sure
trade.
if taking with a c pawn. Oh, actually, yeah, I thought he has e6 played already, but it wasn't. But I mean, his main point is that now after the c file is open, you would like your knight to be on c6, and because the knight is already developed on d7, white can
Okay.
actually take the initiative here after rook c1. Notice that knight b5 is a huge threat, trying to get on c7. So black has to go for this a6, but as you said, it's not much, but white still can claim more of a pleasant position after something like knight e5 being in a symmetrical position, with the g2 bishop being slightly more active than the one on c8. It should have actually been the other way. So yeah, there you go. And
No,
yeah.
I mean I'm not judging anyone. I'm just wondering because generally when I play with the Fianchetto bishop,
No,
um,
that
I
was a very good question. I think that's a good point. He was playing mainly for this difference of the knights, but
yeah, I was thinking actually about knight a4, but I was wondering if black should have just played b6 to just stop the knight from going to c5. But
you could do that. That's doable. Definitely, it was something. Yeah, it
that
was definitely something. B6, bishop b7, and you just stay solid. Like that's one of the main plans in this position. Then consider to trade with rook c8. You can even consider
right.
about bringing this bishop to d6 because on g7 is not doing all that much. Watching the d4 pawn, but in the game, it looks to me that black now just got a very fine position after activating this knight, and it looks like Maurizio. No, that's the old game of Maurizio. Let's actually jump into Maurizio's game. Wow, he's
Yeah.
going against the King's Indian. Wow, this is actually. I'm actually really hyped about this variation because this H3 one used to be called the Romanian variation because Florin Gheorghiu and and Mihai Shuba used to played quite a lot with the white pieces back in the days. So for those of you who are not aware, Florin Gheorghiu was a top 10 player at his peak, and he also managed to win once against Bobby Fischer, and that was one of his
Ooh.
main lines against the King's Indian. And yeah, we get this kind of typical setups with bishop g5 and knight c5. I play this with black a lot. I would personally prefer the setup where black plays with h6 and then just go for bishop d7, knight goes to c5, a4, try to get c6, cd5, but yeah, really complicated struggles. This queen e8 is definitely a playable line as well. Black goes for king h8. I'm curious to see why king h8 after knight d7. You sometimes use this king h8 move in the king's Indian to play knight g8, and then you are considering
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
to actually trade the bishop with h6. So trading the bishops would be a great success for black here, because then you
Do
could
you
potentially use the f4 square.
do you think that maybe do you think that maybe black wants to play pawn f5 since white wasn't castled yet
Yeah,
and maybe break
that.
through? Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's actually Black's main idea in the King's Indian, also in this position. But what White does, obviously, is directed against it. So if you're going f5, main point is that he's just probably gonna take twice, and then
Yeah.
It's gonna be pretty tricky to deal with that pressure over the G file. My guess is that black is gonna do that anyways, despite the fact that the rook is on the G file, because you have to find a source of counterplay. And this is also one of the reasons why I would have preferred the other setup, because in the other line that I was mentioning, after h6 you want to go for this kind of, it's kind of a log line, but you mostly don't play for f5, but you want to go like c6, take on d5, and then get the queen on a5, and the play goes on the c file. It's more of a maneuvering game rather than you kind of give up on the dream of playing f5 in that position. But yeah, still a very interesting struggle here.
But here for black, do you think maybe playing something like knight to b6 to support f5 would be a possibility here? That maybe something
The
that he's
knight
thinking about?
b6 is knight b6 is a great move, as you said, just supporting f5, and also you wanna simply trade the knight in some positions. You wanna get the knight to a4, and once you get to trade them, then you might even. I mean, simply you don't need the knight. Let's just put it that way. And the white's knight on c3 is quite useful, and it looks like he's going for it.
Nice.
So yeah, I think it's the engines usually are hating this kind of positions for black, but I would say it's actually still a very complex situation, and really interesting now that black goes for f5. I think this is the way to go, and yeah, I'm curious to see if what is white gonna do. I was guessing, as I said, g takes f5, and then maybe maybe even play moves such as king b1 after black recaptures. I would be guessing, but really curious to see how Mauricio is going to handle this.
Yeah.
I would probably play something like king b1, because whenever you're going for this kind of castles long, you wanna get your king to b1 to defend the a2 pawn, and also sidestep any potential like weird checks on this diagonal. It's just a useful move to make.
You just have to be a little bit careful about the king and the queen being on the same diagonal.
The point was that we're having nice control over the e4 square, but I really like this bishop e3 now, and I think it's the last moment for black to go knight a4, because otherwise bishop c5 is being threatened, and here the main strategy for white is to get rid of that and then take on f5 and offer the bishop trade. And against that, it's even better to sack the pawn with e4, but now that I'm thinking about it, you also have to watch out for all kinds of rook g7. So definitely very messy position, and wow, black actually forces the issue here, but you have to watch out for bg4 now, and he plays it immediately. This is once white trades this bishop, that's the light square bishop.
But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty closed off position, and since white is trading off black's good bishop, black is going to be left with this not so good bishop on g7 and have knights.
That's a really bad bishop, and now the plan would be something like trade the bishops, and I mean go king b1. I would play that. Probably you don't need it, but just for safety, and simply doubling on the g file. Black's gonna have a weaker king, and also you can get a knight to b5 anytime, and white could try to press on both sides. Looks like he might be actually looking to break with d6 at some point, so that's also something to watch out for.
But still, the game. I mean, the game is still young. Anything can happen, and I still think that blacks can potentially have some play. Just that bishop on g7, I feel really bad for it. But hopefully it will get better.
No, yeah, it's always a 3 results game and in the King's Indian, but now looks like the knight can hop into the e6 square. So I think it would have been better to play the move bishop to f6 to stop it. But now the knight is just going there, so now again maybe we're gonna see like an exchange sack. I'm guessing that black might try something like rook f6, so he can sack the exchange whenever the knight goes there. But yeah, maybe we can check up some other games as well.
Gil Wolf. Oh wait, or was that an old game? Nope, no, that was an old game.
Oh yeah, he's playing d-true, and it's a draw. So we're not gonna stay on it that much. Let's actually check this game of Sasha, and it started as a Veresov attack, which it's really interesting to see, especially that after c5, white did not went for bishop takes f6, which is kind of the main point of playing bishop g5, but instead goes for takes and allows this d4 move to happen. And yeah, looks like black got a pretty safe endgame, right? I mean, traded some pieces, took some pawns. Black is up a pawn here, even though it's a double pawn. I still think it's pretty important. Like you might not be queening the pawn very soon, but it takes away some important squares.
No, of course. I mean, it's still a free pawn, right? It's still
yeah. Also, the fact that this
So-
one is doubled, it's not really that relevant. So, yeah, I think black is the one pushing here, although it needs to make some precise moves to win. Let's just put it that way.
100%. Yeah, because there are a lot of targets right now that white can go for, because pawn weaknesses basically mean potential targets for the opponent. Like right now, rook c1, right?
Yeah.
Trying to potentially win the pawn back, but his back rank situation
Yeah,
isn't doing so
and
well, so has to.
that is exactly what Xenia is highlighting here with King f8, because now you cannot go for the pawn, because there will be the back ranker, as you very well pointed out. There will be rook to d1, and then that's gonna be a checkmate. So white tries to bring the king. I'm wondering if bishop d3 is a good move here. Not, probably not, because then white can trade and go rook b1, start hitting our pawns, and it might very well end up in a liquidation on the queen side, and we don't want that. Like here, ideally, I would give up that pawn in order to win the a4 pawn somehow, but yeah, really tough to get there. Oh, and it actually happened, bishop d3 and rook b1, but now it's just gonna be a draw probably. White's gonna win these two pawns, and black's gonna collect the a4 one, and then they're just going to be left with this 4 against 4 on the queen side, which on the king side, which I'm expecting to end as a draw, but we shall see.
I guess in a way, black's pawn structure is slightly worse, but I think if white wants to improve, they will probably have to trade off the double pawn at some point.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
definitely. Yeah, there's just no way to to make any progress there. It's almost a dead draw, even with 4 against 3, but here it's 4 against 4, so yeah.
Well, there you go. He undoubled his pawn, so
Yeah.
doesn't even have that.
I don't think it was that big of an issue. I would have probably lived with the pain, but
Of course, yeah.
but yeah, this is also fine. So yeah, let's actually check Maurizio won. Looks like Maurizio won his game. He just got this this nice fork at the end, and also wow, we have another GM. We haven't really covered this game at all. Cap rep. We have.
Yep, let's take a look.
We have Grandmaster Francesco Ranaldi from Italy. That's actually
nice.
representing the United States, I see. Or at least he's playing under that flag on chess.com. I think he's still playing for Italy, but yeah, that's nice to see. He's a very strong and young player. I think he's my age, or
Nice.
or maybe even younger. I don't know. But yeah, it seems that he won a nice game in the Catalan, and Emerson tried this queen a6 line, which was played by Hikaru against Nisipiano in the World Cup, and I remember that at some point black is supposed to sacrifice the queen for 3 pieces. That's how the the Nisipiano Nakamura game went, but here it looks like white just got a nice edge and just squeezed his opponent. Manipulate the G file.
All of white's pieces were basically active throughout the game.
Yeah, that was just a very well played game. And we still have one game ongoing, which is this one with the 4 against the 4. That's now a 3 against 3. So I called it a draw. Let's see if we can actually get some development in it. I think h6 now to trade one pawn. That's fine. Yeah, he goes for it.
Mm-hmm.
Eugenia goes for it, and yeah, not sure how white can try to play this. Maybe f6, but it's eventually just gonna be a draw, I guess.
By the way, for round 2, it seems like Microsoft is actually. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, they might be coming back.
What do they
So
need? Do
we'll
they need a
see.
win here?
Basically, yeah, they would need a win or a draw.
Oh, but that's gonna be a draw, so I think then they're gonna tie.
There you go. Yep, exactly. They're gonna tie.
All right, I would. Wow, why is this black allowing this? Maybe just because of rook f2. But wait, I mean this is so and now white is suddenly winning. Wow, that was so unnecessary.
Uh-oh.
No way white is winning this. Wow, I mean.
Well, I mean that's why it's important
I
to
mean,
go over your
let's see.
end games, right?
Let's see if he still knows to build the bridge. Rook g4 wins here. Rook g4 is
Right.
very important to build the bridge.
Yep, the Lucena position, correct.
Yeah, even
right?
even rook e1 wins. I mean, there was just so many ways to win.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting.
No,
Yeah, so we have a tie for this round, 2-2.
Okay. So
We
yeah,
got a
here
tie.
I mean it was. I think the game was just.
Kasasha one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean just go king f8 and you're not running any risks because king f6 you can just check him and go with the rook as far as you can, and you shouldn't really be having that much trouble in holding this one. But yeah, going to the h file, I'm guessing it should still be a draw after something like going with the rook on the side and start checking. But no need to allow such things. Just go king f8 and looks like they're
But you
starting
know,
the next
Wait's
round.
yeah, Wait's endgame was like I mean their pieces were a lot more active, so it was just a bound. You know, in time pressure, anything can happen.
No, yeah, I think
Especially
he normally draws that, but he just got into this mad time trouble that costed
yeah.
him at the end.
And also when it comes to end games, right? You have to be extremely precise. Like and it's very important to especially I believe at any level it's important to be going over your end games and especially at top level cuz I can't remember exactly, but you know that there are even some rook endgame situations when one side is up 2 pawns, but it's still a dead theoretical draw.
Yeah, I
And
know.
I find that
I know
crazy.
that. I know that one. You mean the with the age and f pawn on the board.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually had that endgame once to defend it. I mean, it's really tricky to defend. I defended really badly, but at some point I simply got a trick that I can sacrifice my rook for the stalemate, and it actually worked out. It was
Okay.
in the last round of the European Championship that was actually hosted in Romania in Mamaia in I think 2018. That was a bad tournament for me. I mean, not really that bad, but it ended up in a I don't know, funny way.
Yeah, for me, I was playing against an FM, and I actually gave up in a situation like that with the 2 pawns, and then the guy said, you know, you should have played on. This is like a theoretical draw, and I'm like, well, if I don't know it, then how would I have, you know,
No,
if
yeah,
I
I
don't know this
mean,
theoretical draw,
yeah, I mean, I knew it's a theoretical draw, but it's really tricky to
it's
defend it
tricky.
over the board, even if you know all the mechanism and this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
It's just better to not end up being down to pawns in the end game. Let's just put it that way.
And also not getting into a time pressure situation to inconvenience yourself.
Yeah. So
If
by
you
the
can,
way, yeah, I just want to
yeah,
highlight
let's take
this
a look.
this cute trick here. If black goes for knight takes e4, there is d5, and after knight goes away, there is this queen a4. Typical motive picking up the knight that will be hanging. This is a typical trick in the Alapin variation, and black can still go for it, but my guess is that M. Hassan's not gonna fall for it, and we
Hmm.
actually have a lot of games that are that are being played right now, and I would
Mm-hmm.
suggest to follow Ronaldo Francesco, because we haven't really followed
Yep.
his games earlier, and looks like he's facing this Veresov attack against Sasha, and he goes for the
Mm-hmm.
c6, allowing white to double the pawns. My guess is that he would have captured with the g pawn, but
Mm-hmm.
now we get a pretty theoretical game. So I'm guessing white should be playing something like d5, and then there's this really tricky queen a5 line, highlighting the fact that the bishop will be undefended. But looks like they're just going for the endgame, which is interesting to see. Actually, what he didn't went for queen a5. That was
But why the?
the main
I
move.
just have a quick question. So I understand that obviously double pawns and bad pawn structure isn't as important, or maybe in Grandmaster chess. But why isn't the Grandmaster worried about bishop takes f6? Um,
Well, the main point is that he's gonna have the bishop pair, and
mm,
on one hand I'll have the double pawns, but on the other hand, if there's no way for you to attack them, then I shouldn't really
then they're not
be.
a weakness.
Yeah, I shouldn't really be that worried. But bishop f6 was doable, but again, it's really tricky to get to those pawns, and yeah, I mean, I like his approach of going for the endgame. I think even better was to stick with a theoretical approach, going queen a5, and you cannot take the knight with a pawn, because then I'm gonna pick up the bishop, avoiding the
Okay.
endgame. But just against.
No, I'm just curious because you're an international master. You also have a more higher knowledge of chess openings than I do. So these are just kind of, I'm also learning from asking you these
Yeah, no,
questions.
no. Here I think the main point of this opening for black is saying that my opponent's playing this Veresov attack, which is usually super tactical and full of tricks. Let's just trade queens really early on and play a slow game, which is kind of a turn off for this kind of players. So I think it's more of a psychological choice here by black. But we'll see if that turns out to be in his favor or not a little bit later, I guess, because we could spectate Maurizio again. How do you feel about that?
Yep, yep. Let's go.
Okay, so he's playing a Catalan, so looks like the Grandmaster team really likes to play the Catalan. And we have this Quincy Turuk D1, really subtle variation. This is called the closed variation of the Catalan. And there
Mm-hmm.
just have been so many games played with this, and there's a super debated line. And black tries to set up this stonewall, which looks like white replies with queen a4. I'm guessing one of the.
What bishop c1 is that? I guess the bishop didn't really have a better place to retreat, right? Because if the
Yeah,
bishop
yeah,
went to
yeah. It's
e3, then there's pawn f4.
yeah, f5
But
f4 exactly. Yeah, he's gonna go
okay.
f5 f4, and then if you go on d2, d2 is also fine. I mean, it could go to e1, but c1 maybe at some point you may be looking for to something like that. You just let you can play this position many ways. Okay, now actually the knight might be in trouble now. There's something like bishop f3. Looks like g6 is the only move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm starting to get worried about this. If I have to play with those
Yeah, yeah,
double
yeah.
pawns, my king could be pretty weak as black.
But maybe Black actually wants to play king h8, then play pawn h4, and just kind of like break
Yeah, yeah,
through on the g file.
yeah,
Maybe.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it looks like white decides to take first, and I'm wondering if he's gonna play bishop f3 next or not. Because I don't really see
Mm-hmm.
another idea in this position.
Maybe
Just
maybe knight b5 and then knight d4. Oh no, but then the pawn on e5 is hanging at the moment.
yeah. Also, he can probably try to pin me, and okay. So he goes bishop f3, and now black has to go for this, right? Starts with bishop c6, okay, but then he has to go. He has to go
Hmm.
g6. But looks like white kind of has to go to a6. I mean, if queen c2, there might be some weird d4 line. That's
Hmm.
where all the
Hmm.
pieces are on fire. Actually, like really struggling to evaluate that position. But yeah, looks like Maurizio is taking his time, and we're actually having a very interesting game. So Maurizio, it seemed to
Mm-hmm.
win his games kind of effortlessly so far, but in this one, looks like he really got a fighting game,
Mm-hmm.
and
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
really interesting
I
to
like
see.
I like Queen A6 here too because in worst case scenario if the queen needs to come back maybe Queen D3, okay, but Queen B3 was played
Oh wow,
instead.
Bishop E8, that was just a great idea. Without having to play G6 anymore, he can
Oh,
defend it with a bishop. That was actually really nice play by Black, and looks like he might also be ready to follow it up with like G5 F4 next.
and
But now,
maybe White now regrets not playing Bishop F3 earlier.
yeah, yeah,
No, but at the same time he kind of had to play. No, actually Bishop C6 was kind of forced anyways at some
yeah,
point.
yeah. It was surprising maneuver anyways to find that move backwards. Like those are kind of the hardest moves to see. Like those one where you have to retreat with your pieces. But I'm
Yep,
wondering
all the
if
way to the back.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I'm
knight b5.
wondering
This is interesting.
I'm wondering
Trying
if
to get
Black
the
could
bishop away.
yeah, I'm wondering if Black could try to win that pawn on e5 that you mentioned a little bit earlier. Um, Maybe he just wants to play knight d4. I don't know. Okay, how about we go and check out what
To Gil. What
uh,
about Gil Wolf's game?
yeah, we can we
Let's
can
take a
we
look
can
at
look
that
at
game.
that. Yeah, okay. So started as a Grunfeld and bishop c4, bishop e3, and knight to e2. This is uh, one of the classical setups that white can pick against the
Mm.
Grunfeld. I think it's quite an easy to play line, and it also become pretty popular once again at the top level. I mean, this line has been there forever, and it has been disputed in a lot of the classical matches. One of them is Yusupov against Timan, that comes to mind, where Yusupov played this as his main weapon. But this was also used in nowadays chess by Sergei Karyakin and this kind of top grandmasters. And we get this
Mm-hmm.
bishop that is kind of caught on a4. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
But I
this
like
is.
this bishop a6 move by White. It just stops Black from taking control over the c file. Just gives. It's just you can tell that White is just making slow but patient moves.
Yeah, yeah, and Black's counterplay seems to not be there. I like Queen D6 though. You
Oh,
can
Queen
take
d6
this
is
one,
good. Yeah. Yep.
but I
Sorry,
mean,
I just thought that the bishop was hanging, and then I'm
yeah,
like, oh
no.
no, the knight.
On the other hand, the rooks can go to C7, and I don't see a good reply to that, unfortunately, for Black. Yep, he's going for it.
And then rook, yeah, rook c7.
Now, White, it's a really ugly situation for Black because you don't really get to activate your pieces. Like there's no way for that rook to come into the game. So I would be surprised if Black would manage to save this, because looks like a7 and also the d6 pawn will hang. So White looks
But
pretty good.
just instead of just being passive, Black decided to go for Queen d6. I don't know if I would go for Queen d6 because of the rook c7 situation. I would have probably just kept pushing and just hoping, you
I
know.
think I think he was
Um,
mostly afraid of knight d3 and then knight b2, and then looks like the bishop is simply trapped on a4.
yeah, that's a
and
good point.
and yeah, I think he just wanted to, let's just go for the end game, hope for the best rather than getting the bishop
It's a
traps.
good
But
point. Yeah, I mean, when you are passive, it is also a good idea to trade because you are trading your opponent's like good pieces and trading your not so good pieces and giving yourself a little bit more space. But the problem is that Black's pieces are all on the A file, as you can see here.
yeah, that's actually something pretty funny.
But
uh,
I like this move. I like this b5 move. It's trying to get the knight into play. Oh, knight c3 counters.
yeah, I would also just
Uh,
bring the king into to the center of the board here. And yeah,
wait.
looks like Black is getting into Zugzwang pretty soon.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it is in a way because the pawn on b5, rook b8 to protect the pawn, the a7 pawn is lost.
No, he's literally
Sadly, it seems.
running out of moves really soon.
Yeah,
It looks
exactly.
like Mauricio won his
I
game.
feel
How did
bad.
that happen?
Let's take a
Wow,
look.
how did that happen? So, uh, here after knight b5, for some reason, black decided to not take the pawn on e5 for some strange reason, which I don't get.
He
But
does later. He does do
yeah,
it
but it was
later.
too late now because
Too late.
you're losing
Knight
the
takes
queen now.
e6. Yep.
Yeah,
Nice tactic.
yeah, and white just
That
won.
just
How about checking Ronaldo's game?
sure.
Uh,
By the way, his username is Cap Rat.
yeah.
For those of you.
So looks like
To
he has a
those people.
slightly better endgame. I'm curious to see his endgame technique here because it's one of those situations where club players would just agree to a draw and go home. But when the grandmaster gets that small edge, he really plays this for like 5 hours. So
Yep,
I
yep. Squeeze
yeah,
it
just
out
trying to
of
squeeze.
white.
Now the main point of this is now he's trying to get something like this. I'm guessing trying to attack that pawn, because it could have been playing like b3 a4, trying to stay flexible. But now rook h1 might be a problem. So yeah, I think this is gonna be an interesting game. Meanwhile, M Hassan's game also seems to be heading to a draw. Although there is still some play left on and he's ahead on the clock, I'm guessing this is closer to a draw than to a win for black. Even though despite the fact that
Does by the way, does Zhenya in this situation have any ideas of maybe sacrificing on c5 and like knight
well,
takes
I
c5
was
and
wondering
then
if black can sack on c4. Actually, I think white pawns are
okay.
maybe a
So
bit
I
too
guess
slow here.
both I guess it could go maybe both ways.
Yeah. But yeah, like as you
Sacrificing
said,
and such.
interesting. Like if you could take like 3 pawns, I would consider it, but maybe you can try to defend it.
Yeah, I would actually consider it because in the end game, if one side has 3 pawns versus the knight, the 3 pawns is actually better, but in the middle game, the knight is better or the bishop is better, right? So,
Yeah. Okay, I
I mean,
think.
obviously, it depends on the situation.
Yeah,
But I like this f5 square for the knight.
yeah, that's a good square. I
It's a
think
nice.
we can switch to. I'm really curious to see the squeeze here, as you said, and it looks like black is about to win a pawn, and this is the start of it. I mean, it's still not winning, but slowly having that pawn.
Yeah.
Once you get it, you're gonna
Ooh.
as
Yeah, white
as
lost
I
the
read
pawn.
in Jan Marco's book, he just says that you have this kind of small problem, but slowly it's just gonna spread around, and you're gonna get more weaknesses, and yeah, I mean having a small issue, it's usually gonna turn into a bigger issue. So better to have no problems whatsoever. So
Correct.
not a rocket science here, but yeah, looks like. Black can actually trade the f7 pawn for the b2 one, and I think he's going to do that because then he can actually end up winning maybe the a3 one. But oh, he goes rook c1 instead. I'm guessing he wants to repeat now to go back to f1 to gain some time,
Just
and then
gain some time, exactly. I
and
love
now
those moves.
yeah,
I
it's
love
really nice. It's like I'm gonna give you a draw, not really, but
it. Not really.
I'm gonna make you feel like you deserve it first, and then you're also gonna be feeling pretty bad once I play on. But like it's some funny story that I tried doing this at some point, and my opponent simply didn't have to repeat, and then I just got a worse position than before, and just because trying to do this stupid psychological trick, I got into a
Yeah.
worse position.
Oh.
And I regret doing it, but yeah, most of the times I'm also taking advantage of it. It's really important, especially to this smaller time controls as we have here. You really need those extra seconds at the very end that you can be able to calculate the precise lines.
Yeah, no. And exactly. And I love it when you look at like over the board grandmaster games, like when they literally in those situations where they play until they have 1 second left, then they get 30 seconds added to their clock. Then they go all the way down until 1 or 2 seconds left. You know how like in those time controls where it's plus
Yeah,
30
yeah,
seconds?
no, I've been,
This is so interesting.
I've been to that side where the guy had 1 second left on his clock and he has a easily winning position. So yeah, I mean, at some point, if you get to like a technical position, even if you have like 30 seconds, as you said, it doesn't really matter because the position wins anyway, and you can afford it. But you know, if it's like a complicated position and you're leaving it 1 second, then
Yep.
it could
Yep.
backfire.
Exactly.
But tricky. So what is the point after king c3? Because now white seems to be getting pretty active. Is he just gonna rook f5? Is he just gonna go king e4 all in? I mean, that could also like
Oh,
wow,
ooh,
he
yes,
just
he
allows that.
is.
I mean, white is gonna take like a bunch of pawns like rook c5.
Yeah, that's this is kind of like what sometimes happens, right, in these like rook end games is that you end up one pawn ends up kind of promoting a
Yeah. I
rook
mean,
has to be sacrificed.
he goes for it. This is also like pretty risky by black. Like he could also easily lose this game against the passed pawns, but he definitely wants to go for the win, so he takes the risk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure he had to take this risk, but also like rook f8. It would have been better to just start checking. Why not check first? Because now black could that's a really precise move. Rook f4 is a huge threat. White has
Yeah.
to now it's easily winning for black because white has to give up the rook because rook f4 is just a massive threat, and the problem is that the pawns are really slow now, and the king is gonna come really quickly. He even decides to keep that pawn, which is better to. And now rook d4, yeah, b6 he just plays king e4, and if b7 you're in time to just slowly collect the pawn.
Exactly.
Even after b6 there is rook d6 that wins easily. Yeah, that's just really, really nice technique.
Yeah, good
Okay,
job
so he
by
gets
the
the
GM.
win, and looks like the guys have already started a new round. So if you could
Yeah,
help
let
me
me
with the score. Meanwhile, I'm spectating Zhenya's King's Indian, and they
yeah.
have another h3 line. So
Yeah, so Microsoft won with 2.5 to 1.5.
all right.
Yep. In round 3, 2.5 to.
Okay. So yeah, we're having another one of those King's Indians, and black goes for this early h5, which is interesting, but not sure if it was needed. Like normally you kind of want this pawn on h6 to take control over the g5 square, but this is also not that bad, I guess.
It's just that it might be hard to like play f5 without like weakening the position because then you won't.
The only drawback that I see to it is after knight h5 and f5 white can take, and I can no longer capture with the pawn because I'll have problems with the pawn being hanging on h5. That's normally not there. But we'll see. I like this knight b5 by white, but still a lot of play to come. And let's actually see a game because we have a Grandmaster's battle.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, right. It's the two top players are now playing against each other.
Yeah, we have
from both teams.
Yeah, we have Grandmaster Rambaldi Francesco with the white pieces against Grandmaster Mauricio Flores with the black pieces, and it looks like black tried to play the King's Indian, but white went for the double fianchetto line, and now it's more of a positional fight, and yeah, I actually hate to face these lines as black, but let's see how Mauricio is going to tackle this. Goes knight h6.
And M. Hassan's game also just started. Just letting you know, the last game.
Oh, I see, I see. Also, we have this game by d2 with a queen c2 nymph ongoing, and I guess we're gonna stick with a GM battle for
Hmm.
some time.
No, I just
And
wanted to let you know that the last game was in session.
yeah, thanks for letting me know. And yeah, I think Black is going to actually try to read out the knight by playing f6, king f7. This is a really interesting fight. I'm curious to see whether White can prove some advantage here, because it looks like he's on the nicer side of symmetrical position. But maybe if Black, I really love this maneuver that defends the queen. Now you're free to play knight c5, and you could recapture
Hmm.
on d8 because the knight on f7 is defending the queen nicely. So I actually
Mm.
haven't seen this plan before, and uh, and yeah, looks really interesting. Knight c5 though, I might be worried about queen e3. Although I have queen e7, bishop a3 looks a little bit scary. I might be fine with bishop f8, bishop f8, but really tricky stuff.
And the sad part is that like a move like pawn to b5 would actually weaken Black's position
Yeah,
significantly because knight
definitely.
a5, knight c6.
Yeah, definitely watch out for that. Maybe just go
Also
c6
d5.
here, because knight d6
Yeah,
is not an issue since you can take. He starts with bishop
bishop
f8.
f8.
That's also a move that you can do. I really like the fact that this King is Indian is you can play it in so many ways. It's so versatile. Like as we were just discussing, like 3 or 4 different playable plans for Black,
Hmm.
and
I
that'll
think
be
just
really
Black has to be
interesting.
patient, like as long as because even though yes, it's a little bit tricky for the bishop on c8 to get developed, but you just need patience, right? c6, bring the queen out, then
Yeah.
everything will go with the
Actually,
plan.
what I noticed, the mistake that a lot of people do. I mean, they tend to think that the King's Indian is a very tactical opening, and I mean, don't get me wrong, the King's Indian can get very tactical, but most of the times the King's Indian is just a very maneuvering opening where you have to kind of do this kind of crazy maneuvers till like move 20, and then finally the tactical game begins. But there's just a lot of maneuvering. That you have to go through at the beginning. And you can see that how Maurizio plays this in such a patient manner. I actually like his position for some reason, although I'm pretty sure White should be slightly better. I kind of like what he does, but let's see if Francesco is going to put some pressure here. Do you think he's gonna play something like knight h2 and f4?
I don't know. Maybe that's an interesting idea. Do you think maybe playing something like pawn b4 to stop the knight from going to c5 in the future? Or do you think that weakens the pawn structure? But you're right. He plays knight h2.
Yeah, I mean knight h2. The idea is that you wanna open up that bishop from b2, but I'm not really that sure if he's gonna play or not f4 in the next move. Maybe he just considers to go knight g4 with the idea to go knight. I mean, knight h6 is not a move because I forgot about the knight on f7. But
Hmm.
knight g4 could also be like one of the ideas. Maybe get it to e3, just maneuvering. But probably he has the idea in mind to play f4 at some point. And I think Black
I
should play knight b6. Yeah, I really like this
Okay.
move, trading some pieces.
Okay. I was just wondering, is there another idea of playing like queen c7 if Black didn't want to trade queens?
Yeah, I
Like
think he can
moving.
definitely do that. Yeah, there's so many ways to play this. Like, if I would be facing a lower rated opponent, probably I would be considering Queen C7 to keep more pieces on the board. But yeah, I mean, it's probably better to trade queens for black since white has a little bit of a space advantage the way I see it. Although it's not that big of a space advantage as it usually is in the King's Indian, white has some development advantage that the rook is already on d file. So okay, bishop a3. I think
Ooh, nice.
maybe we're gonna sequence c7 now.
Hmm.
So yeah, looks like
Let's
white
let's
was the
let's
one
briefly
avoiding.
take a
Yeah.
look at some of the other games just while.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, queen e6 played instead. So we have the game of Genia where it looks like white is up a pawn and has a strong knight that's going to be supported with c5. And in the d2
Hmm.
game, it looks like I kind of like black's position because it's resembling a king's Indian very well because the f5 pawn break was played, and
Hmm.
I'm wondering if f4 is a good
But
move
I'm
or
a little
not
bit
here.
worried about maybe in the future. No, I was thinking pawn c5 to like fix this knight.
Yeah,
Bishop
well,
c4.
yeah. What game are you talking about exactly? Because I'm on the
No,
d3
Zhenya,
game.
Zhenya. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
just towards the end.
Antidogenia, yeah, yeah. Oh no, I,
Sorry,
I,
my
I
fault.
moved that like 5 minutes ago from that. uh, yeah, I was the D2 game against Sasha actually, and I was just mentioning that we get this very
Okay.
typical position kind of resembling a King's Indian now. You see that I tend to go to these King's Indian games quite a lot.
Yes, it is definitely your preference, but I think a lot of strong players play the King's Indian, right?
Well, I think maybe the main reason for it is that it gives you very good winning chances against lower rated opponents. So, even though if you're playing someone that, okay, you need to draw, you might not go for the King's Indian, but it's still like a very nice weapon to have for those open tournaments because, as you know, most grandmasters and international masters tend to play a lot of open tournaments, and the most important rounds are the early rounds when you're facing the lower rated opponents that you have to play for a win as black, which is not that simple sometimes, and you have to come up with this imbalanced positions that you get from the King's Indian. And
Correct.
yeah, I think that's one of the reasons you see it pretty often. And yeah, I think
Yeah, for me, the King's Indian kind of terrifies me because if I don't get into that attacking line, I feel very uncomfortable. But that's also because I just don't know the theoretical
no, the thing,
lines
the thing,
behind
the
it.
thing with the King's Indian is that you need really good dynamics in order to take advantage of it. Because even if you learn the theory and this kind of stuff, at some point you have a position where you have to give up a pawn just to be active. By the way, 95 is a beautiful idea here, and the
Hmm.
idea is that queen trade allows knight f6, and then white wins. Yeah, he goes for it. So yeah, the thing with the King's Indian is you most of the time have this kind of scenario where you have to sacrifice a piece for two pawns just to for positional compensation, and you really have
Mm.
to make so many non-standard decisions in one game that could be really tough to do if if you
And
if
a lot of people at my level are materialistic, like a lot of people
Yeah,
at
but
around.
it's also like really really tricky to understand when you sacrifice the piece, because sometimes two pawns for the piece might be more than enough, but sometimes you could just resign when you have two pawns for the piece, and
Of course.
yeah, it's really tricky. And like as I said, the main thing is that it allows you to play for a win, but in with other words, you could maybe play the Queen's Gambit, which would be not such a tactical opening, and you could just rely more on general grounds, and that would give you easier games or something like that. I mean, something more solid. It doesn't have to be the Queen's Gambit. That was just an example
Hmm.
that came to my mind.
Hmm. Yeah, in this position with Hassan, I mean, I guess Black's only chance is to play King G7, King H6, and try to escape, right?
Uh,
Or I guess now the windmill situation starts
yeah,
coming into.
hard to say. I wouldn't take one eight because there is Queen D4 as a trick, so you have to,
Oh
to take the
yes, Queen
Queen
takes
first.
D4. You're absolutely correct. I totally missed that. Thank you.
Yeah, no,
Thank
no,
you.
no worries. But I'm
It was
watching the Mauricio games. It looks like Rambaldi is actually about to increase his advantage because now he's got that e4 square for the knight. So I think that white will actually manage to break through here in the Grandmaster game.
I what about if Black tries to, but I guess it's too far. Like if Black tries to get their knight on d4
Yeah,
or
that would be lovely. I mean, that's what Fisher said. If he ever gets the knight to d4, he's never gonna lose in the King's Indian. But I have no idea how am I supposed to get that knight to d4 in that position. Like, I could get it from e6, c6, b5, or f5, but it looks like none of those squares are available. And yeah, it's simply that that maybe I could get a rook there, like rook d8, rook to d4. But yeah, I mean, I have this weakness on c6 that I have to deal with at the moment. So yeah, tough to say. He plays rook c8 to deal with that. And I'm guessing queen f3 will come now. Oh, it starts with rook e1. I'm really curious what happens if queen f3 attacking the h5 pawn. Maybe c4 was hanging, so that's why he started with rook f1. And now queen f3 is still a possible move. Trying to trade the c4 pawn for the h5 one. Yeah, he goes for it. Bishop takes. Yeah, he just goes with a simple queen takes on h5. And after bishop f7 there is like a queen g4 move. Just playing that so then I can
I wonder
so
if
maybe
like
bring the knight.
if there's exchange sacrifice that
Yeah,
might
yeah,
come into
I would be considering exchanging, sacrificing the exchange now.
knight e4.
Yeah, just rook take d6 plus knight e4, but probably you don't have to go for it, but he might go for it anyways. It looks really tempting to me. I would really try to make that one work somehow. He goes queen h4, we might see it in the next move too.
Yeah, that's what I think. Rook takes d6 and knight e4.
Yeah, also has the beautiful idea to bring the other rook, like takes and then go rook e4 to g4, and that looks mating. That could also be one of the potential plans, but knight e4 also tempting. And he just repeats to gain some time, but looks like black is declining the repetition. Probably after queen h4 he would go back, but that would probably be a threefold, so white is not gonna allow it. So yeah, after knight d3, white is simply trying to collect these pawns. Knight f4, watch out for knight f4. This is now knight f4 rook d1. We have to watch out for that too. Like I would love to get my knight all the way to like e6 or g6, but I have to. He can try to take it and then take my knight. So yeah, now queen h8 looks to be a playable move. I don't really like when white can go for such things. And black offers a draw.
Yeah.
My guess is that
Black
white is gonna decline it. I'm not sure what's the match situation here, but I mean probably black is just thinks he's lost.
There's just one game that finished with a draw between M Hassan.
What?
And,
Rook takes
Bert.
a5. Look at this tactic. Wow, this is insane.
Ooh.
This is
Nice.
I'm struggling to understand what's going on. Like I have no idea how white plans to win this, but
I mean they have just queen h8 and knight takes e5, I guess.
but yeah, but then
And
then he can take it. Oh yeah, that's mate. He has to give up the queen. Damn, that's crazy. That's such a crazy mating net. Yeah, that's such a crazy
beautiful.
mating net. Wow, and now
But then it
white
would
just
still
played.
be I guess a rook and a knight for the queen, but
but yeah.
pieces aren't as active though.
Yeah, he has to give up the queen, otherwise gets mated, and white is just gonna win now.
Was this a better situation for him to lose the queen than in the other?
Nah, it doesn't really matter at this point. I think it's both were equally losing, I would say.
Well, it's also I would say that since the knight is so inactive and it's and plus white is just picking up all of these pawns, there's just no way.
Yeah, no, just push h4, get your pawns connected, and even g7 works. Knight g7 there is.
But what would you say? What would you say was
that's a
the
nice
critical
touch.
mistake by black?
I actually have no idea because we haven't been following it, but looks like the match is over. And
yeah, the match is over.
What is the final score of this one?
Let me take a look. Sorry, just.
So yeah, trying to answer your question, it looks like It looks like bishop a6 was a step into the wrong direction. Maybe playing something like queen to e7 with ideas of keeping the bishop on the c8 h3 diagonal. But again, really tough to say because white seems to have a pretty unpleasant plan of going f5 and knight g4. So yeah, probably just a very well played game by white. Yeah.
So the match has ended for round 4. It is actually Amazon ends up winning with 2.5. But it's been an extremely close match. So actually, sadly to say, Microsoft is not the winner of this round. Amazon is. It was a really great match. What do you think? So many strong players.
I was really excited to watch these players. We even got a GM battle at the very end of the match, which turned as a victory for the youngster Rambaldi Francesco from Italy. And yeah, I'm curious if you're going to get any people for the interviews.
Yep, let's do our be right back. And
All right, so we are back.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, so we weren't able to get a hold of both teams, just only one team. So we won't be doing the interview for the end of the stream. But hopefully for next week, we will be able to contact both teams so that they can just say a few words at the end. But yeah, no, I mean today I had a lot of fun. Excuse me. I had a lot of fun looking at the matches, especially with such a strong field. What do you think, Alex?
Yeah, really,
How?
really exciting match. We even got the Grandmaster battle at the end. Congrats to the winner of the day, and yeah, looking forward to the next matches next Saturday.
Yes, and we are going to be 10 a.m. PST, and I guess then
Yeah, I
7
guess
p.m. now
7 p.m. now.
Romanian. So thank you for everyone for watching, and I hope to see you guys next week.
All right.
And good luck to all of the matches.